All right, good morning, everybody, or good noontime, everybody. It is the Finance Committee, and today is January 22nd, our regular monthly meeting, which we've missed a couple because of holidays, so I'm glad to see everybody back. Michael, will you take minutes for me? Sure, thank you. And I have to apologize once again, I have forgotten to include the minutes as part of the package. So next time we will read a bunch of minutes, or at least have a bunch of minutes to look at. I am sorely missing our admin assistant, who usually keeps me honest with all of these things, but that's unfortunate.
So that's a 2-minute warning?
I'm sorry, what?
That's a 2-minute warning?
2-minute warning of what?
That,
Football referees.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't play football, I don't watch football, so I'm not sure what that means. Oh, anyway,
Gonna lock the front door, excuse me, I didn't.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the roll just to see if we've got a quorum. Laura Bedford. Paulette Burdick,
Present.
Tony Burrows. Here. Joanne St. John,
Present.
Cookie Courier. David Fornes.
Here.
Richard Handelsman,
Here.
Regina Latorre,
Here.
Suzanne Saramac, Julia Silberger, and Michael Zaslow.
Here.
We do have a quorum. And the officers present are Kelsey Fabro.
Here.
Joan Robinson, David Bose,
Here.
Patricia Caputo here, and Donna Pearson.
And me.
And Stuart Richland, sorry. And there was a space there. And Jerry Sutowski. Thank you, everybody, I appreciate it. And Happy New Year. And all those other holidays that we've missed seeing each other. I sent out and you all have, it's the November budget that we shared at Delegate Assembly. I just want everyone to recognize the fact that at the end of the year, it does take quite a bit of time to close out the year and get everything, and all the journal entries have to be made. And if anyone has any questions about any of that, so December, I would like to have had December here, but I didn't want to push Chris on it because I don't want him to rush. I want it to be done correctly. And there is something I want to talk to the committee about, although I don't believe we need a vote on it. I think we should just discuss it as a matter of form. After all the financial statements, you'll see that I put, and Chris, I think you have a copy of this.
I do.
I didn't include it with the package that I sent out, but Chris, it's the irrigation and the roadway expenses for 2024 that you and I had talked about.
Yes.
Okay, so it's at the top of it, it says transaction report, and one says irrigation and one says road in pencil at the top. I just want to point out that's in the package, and I want to talk about that when we get there. But I'll go back to the agenda. The old business that I have listed is the North Canal status. I just want to bring everyone up to date on that. It's going to be, it's a process, there's no question. We've got all the, we're doing the vegetation clearing, and we're sort of approaching it from two directions. We own the tax certificate, so that's step one toward the ownership. Another is to actually sue the defunct companies. So we went ahead and spent some money to clear the vegetation, which, given the wildfires out in California, I am so thankful that we cleared all that vegetation, because I lived there and I saw those piles, and I really just think that for everyone's safety, it was the right thing to do. And that bill is now being sent to the defunct companies because it was a necessity to have it done. Our drainage was being affected. We had to do it, whether we owned it or not. We had to protect, we had to get that vegetation out of there. And we've now been advised by our attorney that we can go forward with suing the defunct company and then looking for a summary judgment. Is that what you call it, Donald?
Correct.
Summary judgment, to
I
take
believe that motion was
possession.
made this week. I
Sorry,
believe that motion was dropped this week.
the motion was sent, to go ahead with that court case. So, because owning the tax certificates takes 2 years to actually go through, the mechanism of ownership. So if we don't win the court case, we're still on board with the 2 years of owning. We don't lose anything. We would have owed the taxes anyway. So, you know, win-win, we're gonna own that canal one way or the other. So that's, you know,
Is
my,
it one company or several companies that own the?
I think
Two
it's
companies, one is
Yeah.
Century Utilities, the other is Winky Utilities, both were owned by the Levy organization.
Yeah,
So is that media utilities?
Winky,
Winky?
like Winky or I Winky.
That's actually, it's something else, not
But I know.
not I,
But, okay,
it's what you're thinking.
but it is what it is. So we're on track, we're getting there and, as it happens, in 2018, I think it was, the actual engineering was done for that canal. Donald happened to unearth it while he was cleaning out his office.
Yeah, I forgot all about it.
So that's gonna save us, all we have to do is have the engineer
Tune it up.
tune it, yeah, so it's gonna be a much less expensive procedure to go and have that redone. So I'm real happy about the status on the North Canal. Which brings me then to the reserve study. We have employed a company to come in and do the reserve study, and next week, they're physically gonna be here with Donald, and he literally went out and bought a new pair of sneakers. Just in preparation, because they're gonna walk the entire community. They're gonna look at everything. And then when that reserve study comes back, I see that as being what this committee needs to do this year. This to me is my personal goal for the year, is to incorporate that into our budget for 2026. Making changes as prescribed by wherever that leads us. So I see that as a quite, you know, detailed sort of work for us to do as a committee. Now, the last thing on my old business is the 2024 year end. And that's those pages I was directing you to. We have, during the course of the year, things happen and they have to be fixed. Like patching the roads, that takes a lot of Donald's time. And if you look at the roadway, it's $125,000 worth of patches that went out and patched up our roads, just to keep them from giving us flat tires. And then the irrigation pumps, we've got pumps all over. I'm sure you're all aware of these little pumps all around the property that run our irrigation systems for
There are
everybody.
27 pump stations.
27. And they're not cheap to replace. However, once replaced, they do last a number of years. I started seeing this, you know, as the year went on, that we were routinely doing these things and thinking to myself, well, in the for-profit world, we would call that a capital expenditure because it's something that lasts more than your current operating period. But we were paying them out of operating funds, and our coupons are all based on operating funds. So I keep a very close watch on the day-to-day, is, you know, what is it that's going, what's big? So my suggestion, which is a little radical, and I've checked it, Chris checked it, we've talked about it. I would like to use our reserve funds, because we do have a roadway reserve, a very big one, and we do have an irrigation reserve. And I can make a journal entry for the closing of the year and transfer this money from the reserve account to the operating account, cash wise, and do the entries to actually use the reserve to pay for the long-term upkeep of these infrastructure items that we've already, I mean, the money's there. So it's not like we have to go and ask permission to do any of this, the money's all there. It's just a matter of the bookkeeping of it. It will reduce our reserve a little bit. But it'll put money in our operating budget, meaning next year, we will not expend as much directly. So it's.
And then going forth, those monies will be pulled from that reserve account, right?
Yeah, year after year, well, yes and no, because we're having this reserve study done. So my thinking on the matter is for 24 and 25, we're gonna do this. And then in 26, we're gonna come up with a whole new plan for the whole reserve based on the reserve study, which hopefully will include some of this. But I think we're gonna have a whole different view of how we handle our reserves. It's a big subject. Richard, did you?
Just two questions. How much of the present reserves are you suggesting we transfer?
These amounts. In other words, that's why I was pointing out these two reports. One is the irrigation. And for the irrigation, it's 131,852.82.
Okay.
And for the roadway, the patching, it's 125,309.50.
Joanne, how much are we putting into reserves this year?
$1 million.
So it's a.
It's a very small amount.
So we're still accumulating.
I just wanna make it public knowledge that we are gonna, in other words, a lot of people think that the reserve is only ever gonna be used to totally redo everything. Put in all new roads. I don't think it's meant that way, and I don't think anyone else does. It's meant to be a capital fund for capital projects, which.
Look, we didn't have an infrastructure reserve till about 13 years ago.
Right.
And what brought it on was a sinkhole that opened up on the corner of Board and Bath out of nowhere. There was fish swimming in it, and we had to come up with the money to fix it.
Right.
Before all our times. Ed Black saw that, and he also saw what he spent on the roadway refurbishment.
Right.
And said, we need to start salting away money. This is a 50-year-old community and things are gonna blow up. So that was the beginning of the infrastructure reserve.
Right, so I mean, if you wanna make a motion to approve doing this, that's up to the committee. I don't personally think it's necessary. Chris, you can chime in on what you think. I'm more than happy to listen to your comments on this subject.
I think that a motion would be appropriate for this, just because we are transferring funds.
Yeah,
I do agree with you that it doesn't necessarily need to happen, but I think it should happen just so it's on record.
thank you, yeah.
How do we handle the fact that the budget for this year has a line item for covering some of these things, like the expense for irrigation and landscape? You know, the budget, it looks like it's 25,976 on the November statement.
That's for our
Right.
everyday costs. In other words, there's other things that involve like the irrigation, for instance, we have meter readings and other, this isn't the total expense of having these, you know, the roads and the irrigation. These are just the items that are major expenses out of those accounts. So that budget item is more for meter reading and, you know, small things, yeah.
We get a monthly invoice of $13.60 a month. That's for monthly meter readings, preventive maintenance.
Exact, that's the word I was trying to,
Okay.
preventive maintenance, yeah. And there's like striping and things on the roadways, that's, you know, the everyday expense. These are just the major expenses, things that will last multiple years. In order to maintain these assets, you know. Michael?
Just for the record, what was the amount on irrigation?
Oh, it's in your packet,
Okay.
you just turn that over. David, did you have?
Yeah, and for those who have never done journal entries, they can be tricky, but I think this suggestion is great because it'll also make our audit look even more cleaner than it ever was before. It really, the money is there, it's just paying it differently than
Yeah,
before.
right, exactly. Richard?
Let's make a motion. I make a motion that we transfer the funds as specified and in the amounts that Joanne mentioned.
Well, these are per Chris's roadway and irrigation,
Yeah, you can fill it in for me.
okay. Thank you, Tony. Richard and Tony, thank you. Joanne? Yeah. Joanne?
Okay, can we restate the motion?
Okay,
But
take the motion.
little discussion on this, and
Okay, well, let's do the motion. Let me just get the motion, Richard is making a motion to transfer the funds according to the roadway and irrigation capital expenditure. Analysis.
Roadway and irrigation capital expenditure. No.
In the amounts, and then you can fill in the amounts. And it was seconded by Kenny Burrows. Okay, now for discussion.
But I was going to say the best example is where we had to take the irrigation line off the golf course.
Yes.
And put it onto our
Exactly. And that's
property.
what made me start
That's not,
thinking about it.
that's not maintenance,
No.
that is
That's-
structure that needs to be done.
Exactly.
But we took the money from the irrigation that really doesn't belong on there, it's actually infrastructure.
Yeah,
So that's the best example that we can give you, the difference between
Right.
fixing a piece of broken pipe and actually redesigning the
Right.
system.
yeah, yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
David?
this is a real good catch by our treasurer.
Well, thank you, I appreciate
No,
that.
it's true, I mean,
But-
if you look at this, previous CPAs that were treasurer didn't even catch this.
Well,
It's a
I,
clean,
you know,
clean system.
it's the confluence of being around the organization and having run companies before. I know the difference between a capital and an operating expense. And had I not been signing off on a lot of this stuff, it wouldn't have occurred to me. And especially when we started with the Gulf's Edge and,
Oh, yeah.
you know, that whole redesigning because of Reflection Bay. So it's just really a coming together of common sort of things. And the fact that you know, Florida statutes sort of dictate how you can use your reserves and it's a big subject. So, thank you, everybody. Let's take a vote. You wanna go ahead and forward, Michael?
There was a motion by Richard Handelsman, seconded by Tony Burrows to transfer the funds according to the roadway and irrigation capital expenditure analysis in the amounts of $125,309.50 and $131,852.82.
Okay. Okay. You can fill that in later, just call it.
All right, calling those in attendance, start with the committee.
Yeah.
Laura Bedford. Paulette Burdick,
Yes.
Tony Burrows,
Yes.
Joanne Cinchon,
Yes.
Vicky Courier, Ruth Dries,
Yes.
David Tornes,
Yes.
Richard Handelsman,
Yes,
Regina Latari,
Yes.
Suzanne Saramac, Julius Silbringer, and Michael Saslow votes yes. And Polling the officers, Costa Pepper,
Yes,
Joanne Robinson,
Yes.
David Buzz,
Yes.
Patricia Caputa,
Yes.
Dominic is not here, Stuart Mitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Satowski. Okay, motion, to make the exact count,
Excellent.
yeah, no, motion carries.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And so Chris, you know what to do.
Oh, you like it?
I think unless we have anything else to discuss about the year-end closing, I don't know, Chris, did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about to the committee regarding the 2024?
Not at this time. I'm still going through everything and making sure that the audit is as neat and complete as the auditor needs. So I'm still compiling information and making sure that December's all closed out. So I should have something, or I should be able to provide all the documents to the auditor early next month.
Oh, okay. Do you think we'll be able to do a delegate package before January or February, what is it?
seven.
Definitely.
Okay. And if not, I mean, I can explain, we've been having lots of. I don't wanna call them issues, but they are issues. Seacrest is changing over their accounting system. And everybody is up in arms about what's going on, and of course, it's the budget time of year for the associations, and I just think there's a lot of delays going on, and that's why I'm trying really hard not to push Chris to get, do all the stuff, because I know Seacrest is, and they're obviously an integral part of our cash flow. The majority of our cash flow comes from Seacrest. So, it's not an issue or a problem, or it's just, growing pains with a new system, as I get it. We're not gonna put up with a whole lot more, but we're on top of that, so, yes.
I spoke to Diane Evans yesterday.
Yeah.
She's aware and she said they're having a little trouble, but we'll once it's done, we'll all love it.
Oh,
But she's
yeah,
aware,
right.
And there's growing pains and she has a lot of new people.
Yeah.
And I didn't even get the maintenance taken out.
And then we have the same problem in our building. We've been calling, nobody gets back to you, maybe I emailed and did everything. Finally, my neighbor got through and they should have told us this in advance, because we were wondering why our money wasn't pulled.
I just got the letter.
So finally,
You did?
they said that, they told me this morning, the money was pulled on the 21st, we should see it out of our banks, and probably by Monday or something. So you think it would have been nice if people wouldn't really panic if they had let us know in advance, so.
But, I mean, it affects us in that,
Yeah, sure,
Chris has to
I get
keep
it.
track of 309 associations and, making sure that the billing goes out correctly, and that a lot of, that's an issue, because the associations are saying, why did they bill us this way? And it's like, you gotta talk to Seacrest about it, we don't do your billing, So there's a lot of, I can't tell you how many associations have called and said, I got my budget from Seacrest and it's all messed up, I don't understand it, and I'm trying to explain to them, and I can only show them what I'm sending Seacrest. So it's been kind of difficult, to say the very least. But we're getting there and we're on top of it, so. As far as I just wanna go through a couple of comments on old business. You may have, I've included this just simply because, it's not strictly speaking a finance committee issue. However, it is a Century Village thing. On Friday, we have, Greg Weiss is gonna be doing an updated town hall meeting at, the clubhouse, and I included the flyer. If you can keep it in mind when you're talking to people Friday.
I got it.
I got it. To make sure we get as many people as we can to that town hall meeting. We understand the media is gonna be present, so let people, know. that we want Greg Weiss to hear us. So as far as old business, that's all I had. Any other old business that anybody would like to address?
We will, I'm assuming, because I know everything is in, next meeting we'll have the year end.
We
At the end of February.
would hope, yes.
Okay.
We hope. We're hoping to have, yeah.
Okay.
Like Chris was saying, by early next month, he should have auditable information. All right, so we will go on to new business, and I did include a little blurb in here about the volunteer luncheon. I would, and I don't need to take a roll call, if you could let me know, I'm gonna assume that everyone's going to go. Paulette, will you be in town?
No, I won't.
Okay, so I'll take you out to lunch myself the next time you're in town and we can go out. Otherwise, February 16th, at Winston on the golf club, Winston on the Green Golf Club rather. There will be, our regular volunteer luncheon, and I will include everyone's name and response, so we all have a seat to sit at. And that's all I have for now. Michael.
What time is it?
12:30. Oh, 12:30.
Until
It says, yeah, on there, and the address is on here.
And Joanne,
The AR aging, that's really more bookkeeping than anything. If you notice, out of 309 associations, such a small group. And really, Chris is and like in daily contact with those different associations, management companies, as far as where's it at.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I put it in there more to show how few we have than how, cause I'm really proud of that. When I became treasurer, that was 3 pages long.
Dear God. Nobody
Nobody paid attention.
I know, we wouldn't have been able to function if it was that long.
Yeah, well,
I know.
I mean, nobody paid attention to who was paying their bills and who wasn't, and that was always, that. Whenever I walked into any kind of bookkeeping or accounting situation, I always said, okay, who owes me money?
Yeah.
Give me the cash. So that was the easiest thing to get a handle on. So I'm real happy about that, and Donald is to either praise or blame for that.
Oh, well, I can blame it. Don't blame.
I can't blame
It'll
them.
start to feel the same, frankly.
That's true, but that's more a testament to everyone working together, Fausto. We anybody that can does, and we all work together as a team to keep that absolutely under control, so. There's no question, we really don't have much of an accounts receivable at all. That's it, David.
Just point out my ignorance. On the aging, Mr. Lead and Michelle Mel, what?
Yeah, I could,
Yeah,
alright, so Mr. Lee crashed into a railing with his car last year. And his insurance only covered part of the damages. And then kind of stiffed us on the rest. We went after him. He came in 2 weeks ago, gave us, I think, $2,000 and agreed to monthly payments till he pays it off. Mostly because he wants his barcode turned back on and his guest calling privileges to be restored. So I've got a monthly reminder to make sure he keeps paying. Mrs. Mayak, her husband, Mr. Hicks, lives in Hastings Eye. This is the fellow who went berserk and ripped off our barcode, ripped off our gate on with his bare hands. There's a criminal case working its way through the courts with all kinds of cat and mouse games going on. But at the time, he was not a unit owner. He was an occupant, and he held his host liable. That's Mrs. Mike. The thinking here is that once the if we can recover the money for his damages, which is not a lot, about $1,100 or something. For the damages through what do you call it, when you have to pay for the things you broke, reimbursement.
No, you're going to court.
Garnishment.
No, I mean, when you.
Restitution.
Restitution, if we don't
That's
recover
right,
it through
that's right.
restitution,
Yeah.
then we're gonna open up a small claims case. And just keep it going. you know?
Thanks, Donald, that is.
They all have stories. There's a little story behind everything.
And really, it's an
Yeah.
indication of how complicated some people's job is and chasing after these
And that's,
things.
again, this is what the blame.
We certainly appreciate it. Okay, I blame him for people
Let's,
going berserk.
And I like to keep the accounts receivable there, so for reasons like that, that people can see that, we're watching, we're looking for everything. We're trying to keep her on top of it. Anything else?
Yes, Madam Chair,
Yes.
would you clarify again what's happening with Seacrest? Because we did have a significant discrepancy in our proposed budget, and it took many emails and several visits to their office
Yes.
clarified. So what is happening with Seacrest?
Well, there's two major things that I'm aware of. The first, which I think everybody is aware of, that quite a while ago, Andy Rosen left.
Yes.
I heard a rumor he's back.
Oh,
Really?
no,
Well, like I said, it's a rumor. But Andy and Kat, and what was it? Karen, the two of them leaving and taking their knowledge base with them, I think had a significant impact on everybody in that department. The people that took over for him don't seem to be anywhere near as knowledgeable about how our budgets are done.
that's four,
Correct.
And
Four or
yeah,
five.
4 or 5 people.
Mhm.
And the second huge significant thing is that they, unbeknownst to any of us, I mean, without even so much as a whisper,
right,
totally changed their accounting system.
right.
So now, I got a thing in the mail telling me all about, you can do this, you can't do that, you should. And it just amazed me that they could do that, or, just rip out an old system, put a new one in, and then tell people, oh, by the way, everything we're doing is different.
She's going to do a Zoom meeting so that people will
Well,
understand
Yeah,
which,
it's a very poor planning as far as I'm
Exactly.
concerned. When you're gonna make a major change to any kind of system, and that, I mean, I've dealt with systems my whole professional life. You have an implementation plan in place,
right,
and especially financial systems, because you have to run parallel systems until you know the new one's working right. Otherwise, stuff falls through the cracks. So I'm not gonna say any more about it, because I get very incensed by it.
but you're right.
He hasn't gotten coupons yet.
See,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
and I wish that we had more pull. We don't. They're an independent company. Yes, we're a big, as a group, we're a big component, but we don't individually have a whole lot of power to do.
Well, Madam Chair, how can we as each association be guaranteed that of the accuracy? I mean, ours was off $8,000.
Yeah.
And how do we know? How do we follow that? How does each association know that it's accurate now?
I really believe the only thing we can do is shine a light on it. We have we by the bylaws cannot interfere in any associations running. So all we can do is shine a light on it and tell you, be careful.
What you can do is, I'm sorry,
Joanne?
Oh, I was just gonna say, don't they do an audit at the end of the year, and wouldn't that catch any big discrepancies?
The associations aren't required to have annual.
No, doesn't Seacrest do an
The
audit
organization.
of our year-end stuff?
Private company. You don't know.
Yeah.
Hi, hey, it's Regina. Excuse me, I spoke to Seacrest, several times in regards to the problem. So the year to the year to date, the end are not ready yet. Okay. Those are not ready. So once those are ready, they're going to get them out. The move over to the new company, created a big problem, as everybody knows. So like here in Windsor, we only received 3 coupons, January, February, and March. I mailed mine January 1st. It still hasn't been debited from my checking account. I spoke to Yvonne Gonzalez. She's very helpful. And she explained what happened was those checks, like if you wrote a check, instead of going to Tampa, it went to Almata Springs. If you noticed on your coupon book, there was a different sticker, a different address. And they're trying to get those checks back to post. She said if you have an automatic debit, it will be posted by the end of the month. I still haven't seen mine today, that it has been debited yet from my account. So hopefully next week.
Yeah, well, and that's certainly one issue, but I think what Paulette is referring to is the budget.
Yeah, I had problems with that too. Yes, I went over it, and then any discrepancies, that budget, like one of the columns says monthly, and then going across says quarterly. So I think that's where the confusion is a lot of times.
No, but that wasn't our problem. Our problem was money was missing.
Yeah, Fausto.
That was our problem.
Fausto, didn't you have the same situation?
Yeah, we had, well, first, when I give my presentation to the officers and to the buildings, I tell them, do not accept that budget.
No.
You gotta sit down, the officers, you gotta read it, go down item by item. In my particular building, they eliminated my legal fund, they eliminated 5 lines completely. They eliminated my pest control and added their pest control person, making a $2,000 difference.
Right.
So it's very important that I stress to the officers to check those budgets before you accept it. Now, some of them are not capable of doing it, and we tell them to come in, see Joanne, see one of the vice president, or at least talk to their property manager, their CAM. Let them go through it. Check the paperwork if they don't know how to read it.
All right, another problem is, there have been a number of associations this year that failed to have their budget meeting during fourth quarter last year. Now, me personally, it's the CAM's job to hammer those associations to make sure they put their budget meetings together. Why did that happen this year? I believe some of the CAMs were in training for this new Ventera system.
Yeah.
And suddenly, a bunch of them didn't have budget meetings. Well, how are you gonna get your coupons if you didn't have your budget meeting?
And we're down again. I mean,
And sometimes you gotta beat these associations, you gotta hit them and hit them and hit them,
We only-
to get the budget scheduled, to
There's
get
a
the.
lot of new people.
We only have a couple of cams too.
I don't know.
mean, it's really, it's just Shauna and
It's Shauna,
Matthew.
Matthew and Craig.
he's new.
Nikki's
Nikki's gone.
yeah, we know.
So, yeah, Paulette, all we can do is continue to ask people to really look carefully compared to prior years. We have no teeth to bite the.
I understand that. I understand Yuko's limitability, but as people that care about other people, some of our associations, they don't have individuals who are probably capable of recognizing that there's a discrepancy.
And I wish there was something we could do about that. Unfortunately, we have no capability. We are explicitly barred from taking an active role in any of that.
How can we help them? What can we assist with setting up to provide them awareness of a place to go? I mean, that's part of what that synergy group.
What?
I know people don't like them, but if there is a void, people will turn to whoever they can out there for help.
Fausto is.
I've been doing it.
Fausto's educated no matter what.
Twice a month.
Twice a month.
Twice a month, Fausto holds meetings. One, in the second Friday of the month, he meets with the presidents if they're not available, the vice president, and then on the third Friday of the month, he has a town hall meeting where anyone can come. I attend as many as I can.
Other vice presidents are
Other
there.
vice presidents are there, and we always bring this subject up. I mean, this is a big subject, and I, at Delegate Assembly, always tell people, come talk to us, but and
What?
a lot of people have been.
I know, but do you say something more than come talk to us? Do you say do you say something like, we have recognized that, or has been reported to us that some associations' budgets that are being given to them by Seacrest are inaccurate?
Well, that's what we're doing now.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, we are.
So if I can, yesterday, Paulette, hold on a second.
Are you
Yesterday,
saying at a delegate meeting or putting it in the UCO reporter that this is what we have heard? Come to these meetings and we will help.
Yeah, Donald.
No, listen, it's not our job to
Exactly.
cast aspersions on other businesses,
On
on
vendors.
other associations. Each association, each board has to take ultimate responsibility for the finances of their associations.
But Donald, no, we know.
That's not what we, no, I'm sorry, Paulette. We have a contract and that ain't in it.
Right.
We have bylaws and that ain't in it either. So we have to be careful. This is what we've been talking about for the last half hour is a company that could take umbrage about what we're saying about them right now. So we need to be a little careful about our
Yes,
conversation.
absolutely.
All right.
So if I can interject,
Pastor?
yesterday, Patricia and I spoke to Diana Evans, okay? And I told her about the town hall meetings that we had. And I asked her if one of their representatives could come the third Friday of the month just to answer questions that people have,
Yeah.
and she has agreed to do that.
That's great.
So besides having WPRF, UCO, we will now have Seacrest starting next month to attend that meeting.
Perfect.
What else can we do?
And it's recorded, so.
And-
we'll
And
get-
it's recorded, and I do broadcast it on TV, so,
Oh,
you know.
Can, now, Ruth, will you put that in the UCO reporter so people will see?
No, we don't, it's not our.
No?
Well,
No,
we
no,
announced the
for public
meetings.
We announced
I
the
mean,
meetings, of
Everyone
course.
knows, I mean, the reporter has it, the TV has it, come and talk to us. And yes, we understand, or, I mean, we discuss these things, so. And that's really, Paulette, the best we can do at this point. I think we are doing it.
Saying it at the meeting, we know how many associations do not come to a meeting.
But
That's-
there are people that, they have to take advantage of some way of communicating. They have to at least watch TV, read the paper, come to a meeting. We can't be everything to everyone all the time. I mean,
We have
there's a certain-
Donald's blog that goes out to.
We have 2,500 subscribers that we send the blog out to. I don't know of another way to keep in touch with people and keep them aware.
Do they even know their budgets are wrong?
David?
The MailChimp, even
They
with
don't,
Donald's
they don't even
report.
know. Yeah, so it's only people like.
Sorry,
Sorry, Tom, can we have one?
Let they finish his thought.
Donald sends his report out, or MailChimp out. It's always, every time, there's not one association here that doesn't have at least one person, one officer, one director that doesn't get that. Every association gets it.
No, I don't know of any other way to communicate with people, other than what we're doing. Donald.
The tenor of this conversation is what is UCO? What does UCO do? Per contract, what we are is limited managing agent for all of the associations for specific services. We are not the CAM of record for
Right.
each one of these associations. Paulette, all due respect, what you're suggesting is that UCO take on the role of full managing agent for 300.
No,
Which it doesn't mean it can't happen, it can, but you're talking about a lot more staff, a lot more money.
UCO or expect UCO to do that. But provide a venue that, and let everybody know through all of these sources of providing information. And now that I know that Seacrest is going to come to Fausto's monthly meeting, then as providing that information that Seacrest is going to be there to answer questions so that everybody has that ability to be there.
Right. This is what's
great.
just.
Yes. This just happened yesterday, so,
Yes,
I mean,
We'll get
we're
that
on
word
top
out
of
for
it,
sure,
Paulette,
yes.
we're on top of it.
All right, I think we flogged that one too.
Yes.
Is there any other good of the order, Richard?
Cat with nine kids.
Just that the lack of communication is a vicious cycle. The ones who don't show up, don't read the blog, don't know what's going on are the ones that we can never reach.
That's it. I rest my case.
We're all responsible for our buildings.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, there are association boards that don't wanna be reached. Wanna do things their way, they wanna be left alone,
Mhm.
and eventually insurance and new government regulations and getting spanked in the pocketbook catch up to them sooner or later.
That's it.
And then they're here asking for help and we provide it,
Right,
right?
that's correct.
Because that's what we do, we don't interfere unless we are invited to by a member of the board, and
Right.
sooner or later they all show up,
Yeah.
and then we help.
We do everything we can.
Associations and fiefdoms, and the fiefdoms.
In the
can give enough.
fiefdoms, you're right.
Exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely, I live in one of those. And if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to,
Second.
thank you all. Thank you all, thank you everyone, on Zoom.
Yes, it was great to see you all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Sure.
Bye.
I appreciate your.